The opinions expressed on this show are solely those of Jeremy Hinks and Sticky Jazz Podcast and do not necessarily reflect those of anyone else on this planet.
Okay, everybody, welcome to Sticky Jazz. I'm Jeremy Hinks, and I am in the studio here in Salt Lake. On this week, I have Katie Daryl, the music historian, countdown queen, video DJ. You've been through quite you've done
I
quite a
like
lot there.
Countdown
You're
Queen the
also you do.
most. That I might steal it. It's going on the business card.
Oh, is that what I'm going to be calling you then? Okay, the countdown
The names
queen.
they call
Yeah,
me, I can't
well.
say here.
Oh, all right. Well, I'll just leave you with the countdown queen, whatever that should work there. They threw this one across to me. They said, "Look, do you want to interview her? She's this, she's that, she's does the countdown." I thought, okay, yeah, I know the show. I know all of that. Oh, they said she's the '80s music goddess. She knows it all, and I said, challenge
Oh no.
accepted. So. I don't know. Did they tell
Okay,
you
so
that?
here's
I
the
just
thing.
wrote
Listen,
back, challenge
I
accepted. I'll
have
take this
I
one.
have
So go
a
ahead.
lot of music passion. I used to be able to say that I knew a lot of information, but at this point, I'm not like Eddie Trunk or Matt Pinfield, who they read something once and they have it memorized and it just gets filed in their head. Okay, because I became a
Right.
mom, so now I have a mom brain, which means I can't remember anything other than how long to microwave broccoli for and stuff. I know where to access the information, but off the top of my head, like if I was to go on Rock and Roll Jeopardy, I would lose now. I would say, "Oh, I used to
You
know
would
the answer to
okay.
that, but I can't remember anymore because now I just know how to make Play-Doh and slime by memory."
Okay, so you're at that age. Okay, yeah. My daughter, she's out of the slime making stage now, but she made like literally buckets and buckets of it, and we had to go and hide all the
The
borax and
thing
everything
about
because she was
slime,
really
okay,
good. Yeah.
my kid
Yeah.
used to hate touching it, and I was like, "Oh, this is like the gift that keeps on giving." My kid doesn't want to touch slime. He came home last week and he's like, "I want to play with slime." And I was like, "No, it's happening." So,
Well, my daughter used to make it all, and then we had to like just confiscate it from her. We had to hide all the
oh, that's right here.
Tupperware.
Yeah, it's the Tupperware that gets taken over in your house. Yeah.
Yeah, and so, but now I got this one here, this color coral keyboard
Oh,
slime.
yes, to help get the
Um,
dust.
yes. Oh
All
God,
right,
it's a
I like it.
lifesaver. It's the best in the world. I'm telling you. Yeah. So, and it's the exact same stuff that my daughter made. I went and looked it up, and it's like just a little bit less of the
Yeah.
soap material, but it's the same thing. I'm like, far out now because I use
Right.
that
We
a
all used
lot.
to use
So
silly putty
no,
back
it's
in the day. Yeah, I
we
remember like
did
doing that and putting it in my
silly putty that
keyboard.
looked like skin. Yeah, remember how but it looked like skin, and we actually made like fingertips and stuff with that, and we for pranks and that when we were
Fingertips.
just
Sure.
yeah no seriously made fingertips that would like leave them laying around looking as real as we could, and just to scare people and stuff. When you're kids and you got to come up with neat things got to come up with ways to just be young teenage boys or the
Yeah,
we
we
were
were
very
bored. We
creative
didn't have
back then. We didn't
Netflix
have
back then,
YouTube.
folks. We didn't have Hulu.
We didn't have YouTube we didn't have YouTube instructional
I
videos
know that's
either.
true. We had to just
You
figure
know,
stuff out, just set it on fire and see what happens.
sit down for see what happens, man, and learn how to make your own bad Star Wars movies on
So
VHX and
good. So
Betamax, man.
good.
Those were the days. So anyway, no, so I get that you might like I'm the guy who like I collect. I still do, and I'm like, do you remember that song? My wife's like, no, but I'm talking to no, I don't know, and so like I took her to see I kicked off part of my at least my journalism career photographing Pink Floyd
Oh,
tribute bands.
yes.
Okay. But okay, well I like my first big one I
My
shot was
favorite
U2,
Pink Floyd
and then
tribute band is Which One's Pink out of Los Angeles. Just so you
okay,
know.
I have
Okay.
not covered them. Um But well, so I'd shot U2 on multiple tours, and that kind of means that you've done it. Once you've shot U2 the second time, you're like, okay, I'm. But the Pink Floyd thing, I just got to where, like, I love Pink Floyd. I don't want to pay for shows. I'll just, that was how I got into doing that. But my wife, like, I'm friends with all these guys now, like
Yeah,
Australian Pink Floyd's, great guy, love them. I talk to them all the time. Dead Floyd, a group out of Denver, they're fantastic. All these,
sure.
there's one South
Yeah,
American band
listen,
just
I
called
used to
Pink.
host
But
the
anyway, so
world's greatest tribute band. So, I mean,
I
like, I
know,
love
I
this
know.
stuff. I
I
love
know.
that you
I
love and
told,
respect these guys.
and so I take my wife to go and see them. So, oh, that's a Oh, that's Pink Floyd's.
Yes, money.
And I got her into, like, my second favorite band is New
Mhm.
Order. New Order, Echo and
Sure.
the
Yeah,
Bunnymen.
yeah,
They're like
yeah.
tied there. And when the bassist for New Order, he broke off. He went and did his solo tours, and, like, there's two camps. There's the Peter Hook New Order camp, and then there's the other camp of New Order fans. Right? I'm in the Peter Hook thing, and Peter Hook comes, and I go, we go backstage. We're gonna go and shoot that show. She's like, oh, that's a New Order song? Because she's like, no, all these years we've married, she knows I love New Order, Peter Hook,
Never took the time.
never
Just,
listened to it. Right. Oh, that's New
oh,
Order. Far out. Yeah. So that's my wife. That's where she's, you know, except when now this is where my rock and roll prowess actually came in handy. Was I won us tickets to Radio Gaga,
oh, lady.
to
Okay,
Lady
yeah, yeah,
Gaga.
yeah.
I won tickets to Lady Gaga on the radio only because I have so much useless rock and roll knowledge that I knew the answers to the questions to get to win those
Right.
tickets, right? And I said, now never ever tell me that my that it's useless for me
Sure,
to
right.
know
It's
all this
not
stuff
useless
about rock and roll
knowledge.
these days. Right, right. So you and I could probably have our own TV show where we could
Yeah,
just
just
talk about, like,
odd information, let's call it.
to know it, like, yeah, that's it, we know it, we love it, right? um let's see, so you did your
Mhm.
greatest tribute band show, and I used to watch that was a kick, fun.
Oh,
Deadline, talk
deadline.
about that for a minute. And then Deadline moves into, well, Deadline was just all about mischievous and being, but talk about Deadline for a second, because I'm not dissing what you're
Sure.
currently doing, but let's face it, Deadline
Deadline
was fun. And if you say you didn't do it just for the sheer fun of it, you're full of
deadline,
crap.
I
Because that was fun as
it's
fun
as
as
fun
fun
as it
could
could
be.
be. Even my husband says that was probably the best gig he ever had. I got paid to go on adventures to go to weird shenanigan things where it's like, oh, it's the annual Amtrak mooning. What is that? Well, it's when people go and stand by the Amtrak and they moon it.
I got a friend who did
Like,
that.
and so I would go to these weird events and interview people. Oh, it's the gorilla race in Denver, and everyone dresses up in gorilla suits and runs, a
Right,
marathon or whatnot.
right. I
But
mean, this is
then, in addition to having like these weird shenanigan stories, that some of them I went to, some we had stringers and photographers across the country that mailed us the footage, and then I just like would rewrite it and put my own silly VO over it and like
mhm,
make like wiener
right.
jokes, which are always hilarious. But then I started getting involved in the adventures myself and trying things. So I would go to Vegas and sit on the guy's shoulders as he walked across the tight ropes. That was a guy named Tightrope Tony. From the show Absinthe, and or it'd be like, oh, I'm going to go work as a magician's assistant and actually get to go on stage and be the magician's assistant in Las Vegas, or I'm going to go aerial dog fighting. What is that, you say? Well, when there's fighter planes up there and they're spinning around and you've played laser tag, imagine if you combined laser tag with aerial dog fighting and you got to do those adventures. I puked everywhere.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, I got to do all these.
'Cause you threw up
No, I had the
inside
bag,
of
and the
the.
worst part is I threw up in the bag, and there was only one bag, and I had to throw up
Oh,
again. So then I had to throw up in my throw up, which is like made me throw up again. So like I had to throw up in my throw up in my throw up again, and you're like, I need to land.
that's just a college frat party,
Oh, it was
actually.
so bad.
That or a Bette Midler concert would probably be,
Stop! I love
I think
beaches. You
that's
stop right there. But yeah,
Oh man,
deadline was the most fun and adventures. People used to ask, "Oh, what's your hobby? What do you like to do?" And I was like, "I don't need a hobby because I've tried everything once." And I truly have. I've skydived,
I get
I've
to do
done
right.
trapeze, I've done the tightrope, I've driven a monster truck, yeah, I've done surfing, I've done stand-up paddle boarding, I've gotten to, fly an airplane even though I don't have a license. Someone just let me do it one day. So that was the most fun. And it was a bummer. It was a bummer to
Have you been in a sunken Black Hawk helicopter 55 feet below the surface of the water in 46-degree temperatures in a dry
no,
suit?
but I have been
Gotcha. All
in. Did
right,
you see the
gotcha.
episode where I got into the latex suction machine? It's like you lay down and you're
Was it?
covered in latex and they basically reverse vacuum you so you get sucked in and you have to breathe out of a tube and it's just the outline.
No, I didn't. No,
That
I
was
didn't
when
see
I
that
went
one.
to,
No.
the dungeon cave with like some mistress. Mm.
So no,
What was great is that my
I
parents,
went.
my
I
mom and my dad watched every episode, and some of the things
Oh, did they? And they were like, "Wow, we had high hopes for her, and now look
they were
at
always so
her."
supportive, though. I love it.
Oh, that's great. No, that's great. So I'm watching like your Comic
Oh,
Con
those are
ones
so
because that's
good.
always funny. That's like that's
Yeah.
nerds unhinged, right? That is totally that's like nerds unhinged. That's nerd pride. You have gay
Yeah, and the
pride.
man
That's
on the
nerd
street
pride,
stuff
right?
was so funny. I mean, that was when I was kind of at the top of my game with improv and just being able to just think and be on my feet and on my toes and didn't have mom brain. I didn't have a kid yet, so I was able to like just the zingers were so much fun.
So I end up working for the local production company here. They wanted me to just go do media
Yeah.
work for them and all that. And so I mean, you're like me. You probably don't care. You meet celebrities, like
Sure.
whatever. But I mean, there were some funny ones there, like Dave Ramsey, that guy from the show Arrow, right? That guy
Y-
he's hilarious. He's walking back there and he's going, "Yeah, it's the charmed life, I tell you. You get to see the kitchen of every glorious ballroom in the country." There's that, but like no. So the best one, I love going to Comic Con
Mhm.
for the people watching, but I take my daughters with to just see, like because we get in free. They get to go see. They got to
Oh,
meet Carrie
oh,
Elwes from They got some and that that was pretty heavy for a
as
bunch of
you
little girls to
wish.
meet the dude from Princess Bride. Oh, they loved it, right? And I'm laughing because I'm talking to Chris Sarandon. I'm like, I'm dying, but like there's so many of these people that I've got to meet over there. But the one year I just thought I'm gonna do this, and I went, and I was the only one, and everybody was there because like the production crew, everyone gets to do costumes, right? I went as a Droog from A
Oh,
Clockwork Orange, and nobody had ever seen a Droog show up at Comic
interesting.
Con. And so I was like, hey, that's mine. I did that, yeah. So, but speaking of, I couldn't find any reference to this. Have you ever done Twisted Tunes at a Comic Con? Because you did a bit of voiceover work, and I thought that might have been up your alley to do
No,
some of
I
the Twisted
never
Tunes stuff.
have. No, what
You know
is
what it
it?
is, though, right? Oh my god, because you'd be perfect for it. I
I
thought
will
you
do it
like.
now.
I
What
was
is
like,
it? What is it?
okay, Twisted Tunes. It's where they get
Okay.
voice actors, and then they all get in there, and then they will read the
Okay.
scripts to a show, and they just improvise. They tweak it. They'll be like, okay, you do this, and you'll be so and so. You'll be Gary Busey. You be John Malkovich. You be And so they assign them different actors to be playing these different roles, and they'll do like
Oh.
Back to the Future or whatever. They'll do it, and it's like wrong. That's all I could say. Twisted
Okay, I
Tunes,
will.
look it
Thanks for the
up.
tip.
It is
Yeah, Comic Con's
wrong.
great. I will say by day 3, it's the worst smelling place you've ever been. You walk
Yeah,
in and you're
yeah.
like,
No,
oh, it's pungent in here today, folks. It's day 3 of Comic Con.
oh yeah, no, I walked in like I see some people, I'm like, dude, get a life, but others there's some funny, and I have met some wonderful people
Yeah.
there, and out of nowhere, I mean, just and it's you see that's something else that's really interesting. I'll touch on it a bit later, but when you do get to meet somebody and you realize that they're absolutely so much cooler than you ever thought they
Isn't that
would
the
be as a
best?
person.
I love that when you're pleasantly surprised. Listen, and my expectations are low at this point. It's just as long as you're not a total jerk, I'm gonna always talk nice about you because, I've interviewed so many people, and the ones that make it painful for me, and it's like pulling teeth, and you're like, I don't understand. Like, all I want to do is make you look good. And if they just make it so hard, I remember those people. Everyone else, I'm like, if you were just a decent human being and had a conversation with me, you get a gold star. It's pretty easy to get a passing grade in my course.
Well, okay, like for me, like okay, I met Meatloaf, Barry Bostwick, and Tim Curry
Oh,
all next to each
that's
other.
okay.
Yeah. Now that was pretty bodacious. Okay, no way even
Right.
around, and they were all just really funny, but they were all poking fun at each other, a very good natured jabbing, right? Fun people, whatever. In my job of just regular interviews, one guy that I put an hour and some odd, I put hours into researching and getting the questions together and everything. He was such a dick. I'm literally like 9 minutes into the interview, I'm like, "Hey man, thanks for your time. I'm killing this interview. I'm terminating it." And he was like, "Wait, what's wrong?" I'm like, "You're giving me 3-word answers, dude. I'm afraid I'm just this isn't working out." And his publicist begged me not to roast him. You know, so I'm not going to rip on it. I'm not going to say who he was,
Oh
but
yeah.
you've met
Oh
people
yeah.
like that. You've been like, but
And
there
there's a
was
difference between
one.
someone that gives 3-word answers and they're being a jerk on purpose versus or just all full of themselves, like the ego and attitude. That's what I don't like. I am sympathetic when I recognize that someone just isn't comfortable doing the press and the media, like, and so knowing the difference is also important for us as well, right? Like, as when like someone's
Right.
just awkward and they're just like, I'm just socially awkward, or I don't like to do these things, but and I told my publicist 30 times each way I didn't want to do it, like, so knowing their intentions of malice are important.
Well, this guy, I was just like I don't get why you're acting this way. I didn't say anything. I
Yeah.
didn't insult him or anything. I just was like, I said, okay, I'm just killing this interview. I'm
Yeah.
thank you for your time and whatever. And they were begging me not to roast him, right? And a buddy of mine,
Oh no.
he's oh no, well, buddy of mine, he's hilarious, right? Because he's like this total introvert who doesn't like doing interviews. I mean, like as a guy, we'll just hang out and talk, right? And he does the music for Power
Sure, sure, sure.
Rangers and Hot in
Mm.
Cleveland and
Hmm.
SpongeBob and all that, right? And he and I were talking. He's like, and I told him, I was like, man, this guy was a total. And he goes, oh, you got the blank treatment, huh? I said, oh,
Oh, he does it.
he
He's
said,
known
oh
for it
man, no,
then.
he's just, yeah. I was like, oh, okay. He said, you got the treatment. Don't worry about it. It wasn't you, because I thought, did I ask him a question to piss him off? He's like, no, 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 man. He's just that
God, I'm
guy.
dying to know
And then
who
it
it
was funny
is.
because the
I'm
next
dying.
year, well, the next year, well, I will type it to you, but don't say it out loud. Avoid that guy like a plague.
I
Okay.
had a great interview with him.
Oh my gosh, I could not believe that guy. I was like,
I
"Whoa,
had, yeah,
really?"
well,
He
actually, I wouldn't say
Oh,
great.
man.
I had a decent interview. But you know what? I went in knowing some stuff, and so I flipped the script very early in the conversation, and I got what I needed
Okay.
because I went in knowing that it was going to be tough. So I had a heads up.
Well, this the thing is, I knew this guy's
Oh,
best friend, and his best friend was like, "Oh, man, you go and you meet this guy, you're gonna love him. He's the greatest guy in the world. Oh, I'll let him know ahead
oh,
of time about
interesting.
you and everything, because I'd worked with his best friend for years, and he's, oh man, no, this guy, you're gonna go." And I
Now
went in
I'm
there,
like, we have to
like,
change the subject
dude,
because all I want to do is say his name. I'm like, we have to. I have to hit the
okay.
eject button because I'm going to say it now. I need out.
Okay, okay. So, who was the biggest surprise for you when you met that you were like, your expectations had no opinion, whatever, but that you met him and were like, oh my God, you're the coolest person in the
Oh,
universe? Because because I watched your show. I'm like, I met that guy. Yep, I know him. I've had him in my
yeah, yeah,
car. I mean,
yeah.
so
Well, I mean,
who
being
was it that
surprised is
you
different. I'm
you
I'm
met and
trying
you
to
were
think,
like,
like, as a
wow,
surprise
this
because
is a
there's
cool.
obvious ones that it's like, listen, I always enjoy Sebastian Bach. I always enjoy Dee Snider. I always enjoy Carney Wilson. Like some of those are just, but I was hopeful that they were going to be great to begin with, and they were. So they like exceeded my expectations.
I hear that D. Snyder is just, I'm just the junior high choir geek who made it
Yes,
right. That's his attitude about
he's
himself, right? Is
very
like, I was junior high choir geek and somehow got
he's
lucky.
great. I enjoy
Is
him
it?
so much. He's so smart. Um, yeah, his stories are interesting.
Oh, I love the
Yeah.
guys. Yeah, I when I watched him take on
Oh,
Tipper
I
Gore,
mean
I
the
was like,
best,
that
the
guy, man.
best.
Oh yeah, man. But then also to see him with John Denver and Frank. Did you see that video clip? There was a video
No.
clip of him and John Denver and Frank Zappa. Like you got John Denver singing with Twisted Sister. You know when they all
Yeah,
went
yeah,
to go
yeah.
and testify in front of Congress. And there he is. He's calling out Al Gore's wife as a liar. I'm like, man, D. Snyder, man, you're the shit, right? But everyone says about the guy at a very personal level, they're like, he's just the most down
Yeah.
to earth.
I love that he admits
Just
that
he's
as a you mentioned that he sang in church. He's like a choir boy, and he's like, I legit didn't realize it at the time, but I ripped off "Oh Come All Ye Faithful." He's like, that is the exact tune
Mhm.
of "We're Not Gonna Take It." Luckily, it's public domain, but he's like, I didn't realize I did it, but it's "We're not gonna take it."
Well,
Oh,
but have you
come
heard
all
his
ye
album Twisted
faithful.
Christmas? Well, have you heard
Oh, yes,
Twisted
I love
Christmas,
it.
the
It's so
Twisted
funny.
Sister
So,
Christmas record?
all
Yeah.
right, circling back. The top 10 revealed on AXS
Okay, okay, okay,
TV
okay.
every
Go ahead.
Sunday night at 8
Okay.
Eastern, 5 Pacific. We
Right.
do have a Christmas episode coming up. And although Twisted Sister themselves didn't make the list, a different song that they've covered did. And so we do pivot and show Twisted Sister doing Christmas stuff, which I loved.
Well, so okay, when I was years ago when I worked at Nazi-owned Wide
As
Insurance,
one does.
I hate that company with a bleeding passion. I worked there, and we had it just came up, and one guy said, "Do you like Twisted Sister?" I'm like, "Yeah." He said, "Didn't they do a Christmas record?" I'm like, "You're the only other person I
Hello,
know who knew
friend.
about that one, right?"
Hello, best friend.
And so the next day I bring it in. I'm giving out copies of it to everybody so they can listen. And a guy and I handed it to one coworker, and he's this old school Polish Catholic, And he's like, and what's this? And I said, it's Twisted Sister's Christmas record. And he said, well, who are Twisted Sister? And then another coworker goes, it's an exercise. No. I said, consider it as an exercise in bad taste. And the other guy goes, it's an exercise in no taste. It's a great, So we're all like, did you could hear it just playing? Everyone was listening to this. It
So
was so
great.
good because look, D. Snyder could sing, "You're My Sunshine," and it
He's
would
got
still
a
be amazing. The guy's awesome.
powerful voice.
Yes. Yes, and okay, now I'll just throw this out there because I'm a man of a million musical opinions and all of mine are correct. D. Snyder, okay, and
Oh,
Rob
yeah.
Halford,
The high note
and
hitters.
right, and Ozzy and
Yeah.
Bruce Dickinson and all those guys, right? The great, right? I loved all those guys. Then when Guns N' Roses hit the scene, all I could think of about was like I was like Guns N' Roses is like it's the Bee Gees gone bad metal. I hate Axl Rose couldn't do the high notes. He's too nasally
Oh,
falsetto. Like no, okay. This thing is like I love Velvet
yeah.
Revolver, okay, and I've met all the guys in Guns N' Roses over the years, except Matt. I have not met Matt,
Oh, Matt
but
Sorum? Oh, okay. Yeah, Matt Sorum's
yeah,
found in the top
I
10
he's
revealed. And
he's
today I was actually
yeah, I know. I've seen him.
I
I
just
look,
got
you and I
done
know all the
chatting
same
with
people. Anyway,
Richard Fortis.
I okay
Literally
no
2 hours ago, I
okay
just
now
got done
this is
talking with him. I've told you I've been
okay because
zooming all day.
okay now. Okay, so this is the funny shit about no, I got a Richard Fortis story for you and a half. So um I loved like everybody from Guns N' Roses, great guys, great musicians, everybody. Slash, Izzy, right, all those guys, right? Love them. I just couldn't handle Axl's vocals. Sounded like I'm trying to do the D. Snyder thing. I'm trying to be Bruce Dickinson, and I can't. So I'm just gonna switch over and be Barry Gibb instead, right? That's what.
You're so
But
harsh.
Richard Fortis, man, I first met Richard Fortus on
Okay,
February
this is weird that you know
12th.
this information. Okay.
February 12th,
2
1992.
days before
He was in a
Valentine's
band
Day.
called Pale Divine, and they were opening for the
Oh,
Psychedelic
okay.
Furs. He later went on to get into Love Spit Love with Richard Butler of the Psychedelic Furs, and he played in the Furs forever, right? I got stories about me and Richard Fortus. I got a laminate over there somewhere about working that tour. I worked the tour. Now this is what was funny, right? I'm at a show in Boston, and it was during sound check. My second favorite band, Echo
Right.
and the Bunnymen, right? It was Richard Fortus and I were sitting at the catering table, and we're there just making sandwiches, eating, and just talking, And he's like, "I'm a Brooklyn Jew kid," He's hilarious, great guy, and he's like, "I love Echo and the Bunnymen. They're like my favorite band of all time. I grew up listening to these guys, and now we're touring with them. This is like the moment." It's like, I can't believe I'm touring with Echo the Bunnyman, and I'm like, no, it's cool, Fortis he's just such a funny guy. I love the guy,
Yeah,
really a terrific guy.
he has
So
2 new signature guitars with Gretsch. And so I was talking to him about those, and they're beautiful, man. Real nice. Falcons.
yeah, and he's in with he still is Axel's main man,
Yeah.
right? Is he
I
still
mean,
Axel's
listen,
main guitarist?
he's like been in the band like quote unquote consistently longer than like everyone else.
Than any of the
He's
other
been with
guys
them
were,
since
yeah. Yeah.
2002.
So the last time I talked to him, I gave him shit about his stint in the Backstreet
Ugh.
Boys, you know.
Yeah.
Because you have to, because this is Richard Fortus, man. He's one of the greatest guitarists out there like that. But yeah, he's a terrific guy. I have only the greatest things in the world to say about him. I love the guy. Richard's the best, man. So let's see. Along with some of the better tribute bands out there. I know you're a big Fleetwood Mac fan. Who are your big Fleetwood Mac tribute
Oh,
shows?
okay.
That
There's
you
one called Mirage that I really enjoy, and there is one called Rumors. And the reason why I'm able to like 2 tribute bands at the same time of the same act, one does very young Fleetwood Mac, and one does more of a current Fleetwood
Okay.
Mac. Yeah,
Okay.
I really enjoy those guys. And then
So
the
there's one
Mirage
that
Fleetwood Mac tribute band has a spin-off called Belladonna, where they just do all, Stevie Nicks specific.
right. So there's one out there. They're called Rumors of Fleetwood Mac. You want
Okay.
to check them out. They're on the same roster as Brit Floyd. Because obviously
Sure.
with Pink Floyd, they're on the same roster as them. They are
Okay.
fantastic.
All right.
Hearing them live, they are amazing. I love. Hang on, puppies have no patience. 1 second here. All right, come on in. I will have to edit that out. Puppies have no patience. So these guys are. If you close your eyes,
That's
they are
the
the real
best.
deal,
That's the
and they are
best.
fantastic. Rumors of Fleetwood Mac. The only thing is like, they're Stevie. They're Stevie. You know what I mean? They're
Sure.
Stevie Nicks, right? She's not as animated as the real Stevie
Mhm.
Nicks, but hey, what are you gonna do, right? Because actually, Stevie Nicks went to the same high school that I did. Um, she graduated long before I, but she actually went to Skyline High School, just up the road from me. Like my daughters go to that school. And
Oh,
Stevie
really?
Nicks
Do
went
they
to
have
high
like, I
school at,
imagine
so
they have like plaques and
yeah,
statues everywhere. Or do they not acknowledge?
they do. No, they do. They got like all the 6 famous people that went to the high school, or yeah, they're like a newspaper columnist went to Skyline High School, and now
Right. Yeah.
he's got
Yeah.
a platform, kind of thing. So, hey,
Basically, make your own
take your
plaque,
fame.
show up, and just nail it to the wall if you want.
Yeah. So I'm gonna ask you this, okay? Because this is like uh the premise of the book was every monumental event in a loser's life has a great soundtrack. And this also had lists upon lists upon lists upon lists. The book High Fidelity
Oh.
by Nick Hornby. Did you read the book, or at
Saw
least
the,
did you see
saw
the
the movie,
movie
didn't
High
read the book.
Fidelity? Okay, because the book actually happened over in England,
Ah.
but everything
Okay.
else
All
was the
right.
same.
Hmm. Thing.
Everything else was the same except that they threw more lists in there. And so it's like, all right, well, what is your top favorite episodes of the
Right.
show Friends? Fucking
Yeah.
roll it. And they would do, and it was so the book was brilliant, but I was like, okay, I know you've probably seen the movie, but you've got to read the book only because you and I have experienced that book in ways that
Sure.
nobody else
Sure.
has, obviously. So I know that you will read that book and you'll be going, wow, I can't believe A, I could make this interesting for other
Right.
people, but B, wow, did I actually have it right? Like you, because you okay, do you deep dive when you go and do your research? Do you
Okay,
deep
so
dive?
I have to
Like,
admit, all right, so truth be told, with the top 10 revealed, we are about 80 episodes deep at this point. Season one, I
mm-hmm,
was hardcore into the research and the writing and putting it all together. The TV show has
sure.
exploded. It is a beast. I now have three different people helping me with the research and three different people helping me write all the episodes. So and it's hard because each season when I have to assign out the episodes, there's ones where you're like, "Oh, that's a good one." Oh no, but that's a good. All right, you can have this one. Just I'm gonna rewrite it once I see the first cut of your edit. Like I know you're gonna do it wrong, but I have to give it to someone. So that's the hard thing about the show is actually like deciding who you're going to give your little babies to and be like, well, you got someone else because we're just
Mm-hmm.
turning and burning so much. I mean, this season alone, we have 15 episodes. But I do love, it's so funny. My husband even works on the show. And so he'll like come in after a day of like writing and be like, hey, did you know that in 19, I'm like, la, 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 you're interrupting with what's already in my brain in a different year. And I don't want to hear it. I'll watch it in the edit. I'll learn it in the room. But it's like, so with the show, next week is actually a huge week for the top 10 revealed because we're filming all the
Okay,
interviews, or not all of them, about 80% of the interviews for the spring season. So even though like we're in the middle of this current season, we're already starting the production for the next round. So next week is what we
sure.
call Hell Week. Even though it's not really Hell Week, it's like Rock and Roll Awesome Week, but like you have to pretend like it's grueling. But it is where we will get in and we will do 5 interviews a day for 5 days, 25 people. And so you're managing 12 lists with 10 songs each, 120 songs, 25 humans. And by by day 4, you're like, how many more times are we going to talk about Creedence Clearwater? And you're like, we've only done it twice. There's 2 more times we have to. And like, oh, you just like these facts and like you just feel like a
Well, so
snow globe of like information rattling in your head by like Friday at 6 p.m. because there's so many deep dives and so many stories and so many facts that have been thrown around. It's amazing.
how do you pick your panel
Okay,
experts then?
so that's a great question.
And how do I apply for that
Right, right.
job, by the way? Because I'm
So
totally the guy. Like, look, you see all this, right? You see all that?
I
That's
see
my
the U2
YouTube
right there.
books right
Actually, like it
there.
sticks out really well too. It was funny
Oh
in the
well,
beginning.
I
I did all the booking myself for the seasons 1, 2, and part of season 3. Then I started to work with a talent booker. So there's still like the original core members that I book directly. So like I will always be the person who reaches out
mhm.
to Lita Ford or Sebastian Bach or like Ricky Rocket because like those are my guys. But some of the new people that have come on is like this last season in particular, some of like the Carney Wilsons or the Sean Stockman of Boys to Men or Jeff Timmons of 98 Degrees. Like it was like, what? Okay, sure. I'll have a boy bander on the show.
Where do these kids come from?
Our
Yeah.
talent booker does. And so yeah, each season we just
Uh
sit
huh.
down and we as a team like look at like who's the roster of people that have been on the show in the past, who gets an invite back, and what new people do we want to try and infuse. I am sorry. Do you
Wow.
hear the construction
Because
at my
I'm looking
house?
at that.
I'm
I'm like,
like, stuff is getting
I don't
real
hear
right now,
anything
and
at
I
all.
apologize.
Oh hey, no worries, man. So no, I'm watching like okay, like I'm big Runaways fan. Who isn't? I've interviewed Cherie
Oh
Curie
yeah,
a
she's
couple
great.
times. I adore.
She does the
She's the
wood
best, man.
carvings,
I
right?
she is the chainsaw.
Wh-
Actually, in my interview, I said, so are you a Husqvarna? And she's like, no. She's like, no, I'm a still. I'm like, really? She's like, yeah, I'm covered by them, man. I'm professionally. I'm like, wow, like you're sponsored by, because like like for me, I'm a Husqvarna chainsaw guy. She's like, oh no, I can't. And that's what her and I are talking about in the interview. I'm not
Yeah.
kidding, right? But
I
I
don't
actually
have a
told her the
preferred chainsaw.
funniest
I'd like to go on the
story.
record to say I've actually never used
Yeah,
a chainsaw. So
you know, oh hey, out of all the things you've never
no, but I've
got
gone
chainsaw, no?
to back in Deadline days. I did go to like a chainsaw wood carving festival, but I just never held one. I don't think. I mean, then I may have, but I may have been under the influence. I don't remember. Different story.
See, I came home one time. My buddy called up. He's like, dude, I got a hall pass, and I got to take down this tree. Like, and I'm like, oh, to my wife, I'm like, I'm gonna go. We're
Taking
taking down
down a
this tree. She's
tree.
like, okay, whatever. So, and I come back like 3 hours later, just like, oh, that was awesome. My wife's like, what's so fun about chopping down a tree with a chainsaw? I'm like, exactly. that is what's so
I
fun,
think
And
my
so until you've
father-in-law
done
was
it,
doing that
man,
for a while. Like he had
you
some property in Denver and like would just go up there and like cut down trees. And I was like said the same thing to my husband. I was like, I don't understand what's like where's the happiness coming from
it's
on
totally
this? And
it's a
I guess right, that's just you guys just
oh
being like,
I well, I thought it would be a dude thing, but then Shuri Curie's like, "Oh man, I'm a, it's like, yeah, that's great.
she's
She's like,
badass
they got
though,
a
but she is
special
great.
guard on that one with,
And
oh
the Runaways are
yeah.
coming
Well,
up on an upcoming episode of the top 10.
well, so here, if you want to throw this one in, like I told this to Shuri, that was really funny. Now, okay, well, first of all, do you collect vinyl and artifacts and stuff? Do you do? Because I still do. I have like
No,
thousands behind
I'm
that
a
French flag. I have
purger.
thousands of
Like
vinyl.
I've kept
Oh, see,
nothing in my life.
so here was the all right. Here's my Shuri Curie story. I'm in Prague, 2000. I'm in this rock and roll
Okay.
themes joint, right? And they had up on the wall a picture. They had in the frame the original print 7-inch of Cherry Bomb,
Nice.
and I'm like, me
You're
being
like,
the
I
greedy
need that.
bastard who has to have all the yeah. And I went and I offered now I offered the guy. I started with 20, got all the way up to 50, and this is Prague in 2000. So $50 American in Prague in 2000 was a
Yeah.
lot of money. And the guy was like, no. And everybody else calls me cheap. Everyone's like, dude, you're cheapskate. But it was worth 80 at the time, right? It's worth more now. But the guy was like, no, I can't
Wait,
do
hold
that. I'm
that
like, why
thought.
not? And he
Hey,
said,
if
look,
you're
that
pouring one in there, pour one for me.
and
All right.
me.
All right,
And
go
me.
on.
Anyway, so I try and get this guy to part, and he's like, I'm not gonna part with it, right? And he says, listen, in 1979 in Cold War Prague, there was no way of getting American
Oh, so this
records.
was like smuggled
It
in?
was illegal.
Woo!
Yeah, he said I bought it off the black market out of a guy in the back of a van in a back alleyway.
He got an abortion
I'd
in the
never
van
heard the
too. No.
record. He
Sorry,
said,
tasteless.
he said, he's, he said, he said, like, I was 16 and I'd never heard of him. It was American. I had to have it. So I bought the
All right, so
record,
this had
right?
sentimental
He said,
value to him as well. You were never going to get it.
oh yeah,
Now,
but no,
tell
no,
me you
here,
didn't steal
here's
it.
where it goes.
Tell me you
No,
didn't. Okay.
no. But this is what's even funnier. I'm telling Shuri Curie this story. Okay. So as the story goes, he said, we actually had these underground
Mm.
listening parties where we would listen to American rock and roll. And it was in the basement of this pub of
Of
this
the Alamo.
restaurant. And he said, yeah, whatever they had. And he said you would go, like, you could go to jail if you got caught
Okay.
having this stuff, right? And he said, so there we are. It's 79, and we're having these underground parties, and we would play this record 3 times a night sometimes. And we would all just go and dance and scream and all that, right? Said that record changed my life. They formed their own little Runaways tribute lip sync band. And they had, like, I looked at the pictures, it was Joan on
Yeah.
drums and shit. It didn't
Sure.
work, obviously, but they didn't know anything. He said we knew nothing about the other. We just knew these 2 songs. And that was it. And that record changed my life. And so that was our rebellion against the thought police in the Cold War, was we were going to have these rock and roll parties listening to American rock and roll. And for me, it was the Runaways. And I told Shuri Curie that, and I said, I hope that at least made your day. She's like, that made my life. That was the coolest story in the world. She's like, that was so cool. She's like, wow, they were risking going to
Yeah.
jail to listen to us. I was like, yeah, and she says, like, no, he wouldn't sell it to me, but anyways, I told her that was the coolest story I've ever heard. And Shuri is just, oh, she's a
Yeah.
sweetheart.
She's great. She's great. I did
She's amazing.
Hanging and Bagging podcast with her once. Yeah. If anyone wants
Okay.
to reference that on YouTube, it's out there.
Was that with you? There was like 5 other people on that
Yeah, a bunch of
show.
dudes.
Let's. Oh,
Look
hey,
at
come on, tell them to share me.
look at
Come on, I want one
this.
too. Ooh,
I have the best husband in the world.
well,
He just took he
kudos,
picked up
man.
my son from school. They went fishing, and then I've been working here, and he came home to this. Like, amazing. Cheers to me.
You're tearing it up. Yeah, you scored there, jackpot, man. So there you were, classic rock DJ at age
Yeah.
15. I was DJing school dances at 15, so I at least
So I had started doing radio for a kids radio station before even Radio Disney existed. So it was called Kids FM, and it was in Phoenix. And what they had is they had like five kids. There was the Monday kid, the Tuesday kid. I don't need to tell you the days of the week. And there was
Right,
one adult
sure.
DJ who then was who ruled them all. And after school, a different kid DJ would come in and do a 2-hour shift with them and kind of do the weather and all that stuff. Well, I was the quote unquote oldest kid at the age of 15. The other kids were like 11-year-olds and 10-year-olds. And so he was about to go on paternity leave. And so he trained me how to run the board. And so I learned how to run the radio station essentially. um, and I then handled a 2-week shift with all the other kids and was kind of like the kid leader of the gang. And then we had a sister radio station on the same floor, and it was 96.9 FM in Phoenix, and they played the greatest hits of the 60s, 70s, and the 80s. And they then said, hey, do you want to take on a night shift? And also, do you want to work promotions? So I then turned into like the promotions girl during high school over at that station. And then I was doing a Saturday night 8 to midnight shift, I think, when I was about 17, on the classic rock station. And listen, that's where I honed my love for classic rock. My parents, grew up playing classic rock. I mean, listen, like we had 8 tracks, we had a great van, we would take road trips, So I loved the Stones. I loved Paul Simon solo stuff, all that. But it was working at the radio station and spinning those records, in the middle of the night that all of a sudden I was like, oh, there's a deeper dive. My parents hadn't introduced me to Pink Floyd. That wasn't their jam, but then I got to figure out if it was going to be my jam. And I love it. Steppenwolf. Like, let's like, what is this? Why did my parents not show me Steppenwolf? Right.
Oh yeah, actually, so
Okay.
let me ask you this: in your current in your current Game of Thrones that you sit on the top of, right? You're the do you still come across something that somebody comes up with and you go, how could I have lived my life and never having heard this one?
Yes and no. I'm not sure there's like a song that I'm like,
Okay.
how have I not necessarily heard it? Even though, like, sure, I mean, I haven't heard everything. I'm not going to be a know-it-all. But there's definitely like those songs that I get surprised because I didn't know who sang it, or you always assumed it was someone else. God, and I hate this because now I'm on the spot. But there was a song that like I always thought was the Rolling Stones, and it's someone totally different, and I can't remember what it is, and it's driving me crazy. And I'll remember as soon as we hang up.
It was Van Morrison, Brown Eyed Girl.
That's a good one. But yeah, it's some of those ones where you realize, or you didn't, or just, you'd heard the song and just never taken the time it was maybe a one-hit wonder-ish and you didn't realize like who sang it and everything. So music does still excite me. It really does. And I love facts. I love hearing facts that other people can give me. I love just getting in the mood and being like, tonight's just going to be a rock and roll night. I mean, like we're a karaoke family. So, actually that's a lie. My husband is a karaoke family. And so when we do stuff with his family, we karaoke, not with my family. But that's really fun to like all of a sudden be like, yeah, let's try and pull out like something, that we've only heard on like the top 10 revealed and doesn't get a lot of radio play, and let's try and sing it. And that's fun. That's a good time. I can't sing, by the way. I
So,
am like the person in the background where they turn off my microphone. They're like,
oh yeah. So I remember, like, okay, I've taken my daughters to see Pink Floyd
mm-hmm,
tribute shows. I'll take my daughters to see
sure.
whoever. We took them to see Pink, and but um, yeah, we spent forever trying to get my daughters to go and see Bohemian Rhapsody, and like
And they
even
didn't want
well,
to see
even
it?
okay for
Like,
me,
what do you
right?
mean
Like okay, I remember I put on the the Queen Live Aid clip anyway once, and my wife was like, "I get it, it's Queen, but what's so important about this?" I was like, "That's Freddie." She's like, "Yeah, but he's just going around strutting his stuff," and I'm like, "No, no, no, you don't get. This is Freddie." And then we went and we watched Bohemian Rhapsody, and then she said, "Now
Yeah.
I get why you loved
Yeah.
that performance, right?" And then then when we went and saw, we talked my daughters into it. No, I don't want to see it. Don't want to see it. Don't want to see it. I don't want you. Oh yeah, you will. You will. You will. We went and we saw it, and they walked out of there just like, wow, Freddie
So
was
you're
so
going to love,
amazing.
not this season, okay? So for those of you just joining us, we're talking about the top 10 revealed. No, I'm just joking. So the top 10 revealed.
No, that was what that's what we're here covering.
I know.
We're
So
plugging for
next,
that.
so
Yeah,
not
but
this season. We're in the middle of the fall season, but so we're working on the spring season right now. And like I said, we're going to be doing the interviews for, the guests next week. But one of our lists is like the top 10 rock star biopic movies. So I can definitely tell you
hmm
it obviously makes the list.
well, I think Bohemian Rhapsody would be up
Yeah.
there for sure, and
But what it's
that.
crazy as the list
Um,
started coming in, you're like, this should be a list that has like should be a two-part list. And tune in next week for the another top 10, right? For 11 through
so
20
and
because oh, there's so many good ones out there.
well, yeah, but I'm waiting for one on Lou Reed because Lou Reed is the god of rock and roll.
Yeah, why there hasn't been one?
Um, there's not been one
There's got to
about
be
Lou
like a good
Reed.
PBS special at least.
Oh, there's plenty about there's plenty of
Sure.
documentary, but there's never been a biopic about Lou. You know, and Lou was the guy that I talked to Richard Fortis about. Lou, actually, no, I flew to Belgium one year. We are gonna go see him in
Really?
Brussels, and they had this that was in 2000. Yeah, the same trip to where I found that
Mm,
record in Prague. They had an economic strike situation. We weren't allowed to actually go into Belgium, and so I had a ticket for Lou, and we missed it. It was a long story, just and that was the real drag. I've never been able to get to see Lou before
yeah.
he died. Lou's like Lou is like the one guy that everything happened from was Lou Reed, but so I'm gonna say, so this is really funny because I was watching I'm watching the shows, and I'm like laughing. I'm going, okay, man, this has happened to me. All right, now I moved to a tiny little redneck shithole town called Monticello, Utah.
Okay. Intriguing.
Okay, 1,200 people in it.
Why did you do this?
I moved there from Washington D.C.
Okay.
Right, so now and there it's like there's cowboys and I don't know what else. I never did. I didn't even live there for a year. I didn't fit in. It was like, it was just hell, right? Living there. And I actually have made friends with some people that I knew back then and all. But anyway, so it was just not the place for
Sure.
me, right? And I remember writing on my binder one time at school, like my school work notebook, and I was writing, I wrote like U2 and the Sisters of Mercy and Billy Idol and all this stuff that I've been listening to. Yes,
Mm.
and all this, and then somebody walks up and goes, "Well, what about Alabama? Why aren't they on there?" I'm like, because that's totally not even the planet I'm on, right? Like I was like, wait,
Yeah.
what? Like Alabama, and and I thought, here I am. I'm the guy who moved there from Washington D.C. and I they were all listening to AC/DC and all that, but I'd never heard Bon Jovi till I got there,
Interesting.
which that's
Interesting.
funny unto itself. Because I've been listening to all the
Sure,
other
sure.
metal and
Bon
April
Jovi
Wine and
does
all
seem
the
like
Deep
someone that would be
Purple and
great
stuff
in a
out
small
there.
town. Like, yeah, if you grow up and there's only one bowling alley, you also like Bon Jovi.
But I got into them at the time and everything. But I just thought it was really funny that like here I am, I'm going now. That's just not where I was in life to even know
Mhm.
Alabama, right? But here I am. I'm thinking I got my list of
Sure.
cool. I'm drawing their logos as close to the album covers as I can remember and all that's what you do when you're in seventh grade, right? And I was like, well, where'd that come from? So does that happen to you when you think you've got your list,
Oh,
you've
yeah,
got
like
your world there, and then somebody goes, "Oh, hey man, but you
mm,
forgot," and you're like, well, "Where the hell
all
did
the
that come
time.
from? Like that doesn't even
All the
belong here,
time.
right?"
I get blindsided all the time where I'm like, "Oh yeah, you're right." But at least I like eat the hashtag humble pie. I'm like, "Oh yeah, you're right. I'm wrong." That's a good one.
But like, ooh, I missed
Yeah.
that one.
Now,
Ooh,
but just so you know,
like
I don't come up with these lists. These are voted on by the fans. So, quite frankly, a lot
sure.
of the time, at the end of the day, I'm disappointed as well. So I'll get angry emails from
I was gonna ask, do you see a list and go,
yeah,
"That's crap. I
yeah,
don't agree
man.
with that."
There are some lists
Yeah.
that I'm like, really, really? How did X, Y, or Z not make the list? Or what is that song like? And you just know that someone just
Or like, yeah, like why is that
yeah,
even there? Why is that song of
oh yeah,
everything?
oh yeah.
So, d- d- so do you do this? Like you like the one song by the
Mhm.
band, the one hit wonder that everybody knows, and then do you go digging into the rest of their catalog to find out that whether it really is that good or
Mm,
not?
mm. No.
No.
I mean, but I'm just at this weird point though in my life now where I don't have the time to deep dive the way I would have in the past. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
just juggling a kid and juggling a kid's particularly like during the pandemic it has taken a toll. How much time do you have? Can we switch this to therapy? Yeah, so some of the stuff that like I would have done as just a creative outlet of being like, oh, let me learn more about this band, I haven't been able to. I feel like, and it's I love being a mom, but I mean it's just I have my attention and focus has like the silly putty we were talking
Are
about
you out of the
earlier.
Barney phase yet? Are you at least out of the Barney
Yes.
phase?
My little one's in
Okay,
kindergarten
cool.
now,
All
and
right.
it's like so adorable,
All
and
right.
he loves rock and roll. And I know that like this is going to make people cringe when I say like, oh, he loves like Trolls World Tour, but he does. But he likes there's like this one troll that's like the rock and roll troll, not the pop troll, not the country
Uh
music.
huh.
He likes Barb, the rock and roll troll, and like he like practices. He's like, Mom, am I doing it right? And I'm like, you're doing it right. You're doing it right.
Yes. I'm so
Yes.
proud of it.
Like he did summer camp this summer and it was like singing a little singing camp and they did all songs from Trolls World Tour and they have like Simon and Garfunkel and all these other little songs and like Lionel Richie, and he got assigned singing Barracuda by heart, and I couldn't have been happier. And he like
Oh.
sang it,
Oh
and
wow.
like he just sang it to the back of the room, and I was like, yes, oh Barracuda, and I loved it, and so that's where I am now, if I have to be totally honest.
Oh, that's the
Yeah.
moment. Yeah. You see, because like for me, like okay, like two songs, two bands that they're only known for the one hits, the one hit wonders. That you're like, wow, that's really all they're known for because the rest of their catalogs are made. Like Men Without Hats did that
Oh,
song
S
"Safety
S S
Dance."
S A.
Right, right, right. On the scale of 1 to 10, that's about a 4 compared to the rest of their work.
Mm.
Okay, and the other band, Modern English, did that song. I'll
Then melt
stop
with
the
you.
world
Yeah,
and
yeah,
melt
yeah.
with
I
you. Right.
mean, oh, I think I saw them
Okay,
at like one of
like
the like
those two.
K Rock Jingle Bell Jams of 2015 or something.
Well, Modern English and Men Without Hats. Like, wait, if you were to like go, okay, I like those songs, but then you go and then you just buy any of the records and you play the full record, you'd be like, wow, why is that the one that made it to the single? Like this, Like
Yeah.
that song is okay, but the rest of their work is so outstanding. And that's like that's where I'm looking at you and you're thinking I'm going. I wonder if she's going. It's a crying shame these guys aren't like
Yeah.
massive,
But
because you have the opportunity to hear what other people you get to learn a little bit more about them. You're throwing this up. Hi, here's the one. I remember there was this like one hit wonder. I don't know, it was VH1, I think they did a long time ago, where they're like the ones where they had the Macarena and Frank Zappa, Valley Girl, and all these other ones. And I was like, okay, I remember those were
yeah.
hits, and they were the one hit wonders, and they statistics
Mhm.
wise and all that. I was like, those
Yeah,
really
they
weren't
weren't
all
like
that
good. Like,
great.
or yeah, what was the a little bit of Monica, like that type of guy where you're like,
Yeah,
really? Like, I'm
yeah.
happy you
You're like,
came and
why?
went.
Like those. Yes, yes. That they
Yeah.
came and went. Yeah, I'm glad you were gone.
Well, what's interesting on some
But
of these one hit
every
wonder
once.
lists that we do, because we've done a couple of them on the top 10
Mhm.
revealed, and I mean, I'm sure the definition of a one hit wonder is so hard, and people will argue it all day, right? Like, oh, well, maybe they only had a hit in the top 10, but they may have had something in the top 100. And like, so therefore they should be counted as a two hit wonder. So that like the semantics really get in the way.
Right,
Um,
right.
but
Yeah.
I mean, or like just things where you're like, okay, well, that band had a one hit, but then the lead singer went on and did something else. Therefore, it's not really or oh, like Steeler's Wheel, right? Like, but like it's Jerry Rafferty, and then he went on, and so it's so interesting the argument that people can make around one hit wonders specifically that really I find interesting.
I do, because a lot of it again, it's like, well, how many weeks was it in the charts
Th-
or whatever? Because that's
True,
what when
exactly.
VH1 was doing it, that they measure
Yeah,
it on
like
those
I'd rather be a
metrics of,
top
well,
20
it
hit
been the
for
charts for.
18 weeks straight versus hitting number one once and then like dropping really fast. Like, yeah, like actually, no, I'll still take being number one
Yeah.
once.
Well, okay, so I mean, I don't know. For me, I would have had the best time just going out, and I mean, I would love to be like, I'd be the go-to. Like, hey, Jeremy, what do you got of a song about Christmas sucks? And I'd be like, okay, I have, and I'd have 60 songs lined up for you, right? You wouldn't have heard a single one of them, but they're all
Yeah, yeah.
awesome, you know. And like, okay, have you ever been presented with a list that you're like, I
Oh
couldn't do
gosh.
it?
So I love the idea of the list to begin with, right? Because when we
Hmm.
first started this show, I thought, oh yeah, okay, the first season, Mark Cuban is who greenlit this show, and he's like, okay, give me 8
Right.
episodes. I
Yeah.
was like, okay. Came up with 8, and then he's like, give me another 8, and I was like, oh, okay. And then he approved it again. I was like, oh man, got to come up with 12 now because like he upped the delivery order, and I panicked at first because I was like, we're gonna run out of lists. No, no, Katie, you will never run out of lists. People like to make lists about lists. I could do a list of the top 10 shows that got it wrong, right? Like so
Yeah.
there's always a
Well,
list, and I always get suggested lists, and that's what I say is like, when I'm talking to people, like, feel free, hit me on my Instagram, hit me on my Twitter, hit me on my Facebook. It's at Katie Daryl, and I do read that stuff. And people, if you have an idea, like, I want to know the list because like I do like keep a like running journal of lists that we haven't done yet and that we still should do. Even like when I do interviews. And so it's like next week we'll be sitting down, and like after an hour of an interview, D Snyder will stand up and be like, hey, have we done he wheezes us now. He's like, have we, because
is that
because
where
he's
you
been
guys
on
are?
since
Yeah.
season
Well,
2. So he's like, have we done blah blah blah? And I'm like, yeah, D, we did it. And you actually were on that episode, man. And he's like, oh, okay. I knew it sounded familiar. So like our guests come up with ideas now as well. Um,
wait. By the way, D's version of the piano version out in the desert of "We're Not Gonna Take It," where the woman got her head shaved.
no.
Have you seen that? You're gonna
Stop, for
cry.
reals.
Okay, you will cry
Oh,
your eyes out.
okay. All right.
Okay. So, well, I am doing my own documentary film about cancer. I lost a buddy to cancer a few years ago, and we said we're going to go out and raise awareness of
Yeah.
prostate cancer and everything. And then I was like, oh, I'll go find D Schneider one of these days because of that video that
Mm,
he did. When you see it,
I
you'll
get it.
just be
Yeah.
like, I love that man. You know,
That's
so
good.
he's just. I mean, okay, yes, he's a comedian. He's
Yeah,
all of that. But when he wants to sucker
he'll do
punch
it. He'll
you,
do it. So, but
okay.
your question
And I
was,
mean, I've always I've always viewed that about D.
yeah,
Snyder, right? Of just he's this great guy, very charismatic and all that. But then I watched that video, I was like, oh damn, that guy just knew
yeah.
exactly how to hit you.
Well,
So
so,
anyway,
so your
go on. What
question was, is
you were
there a
gonna?
list that I had to be like, absolutely not? And yet sometimes people will get like really specific, and I know it won't resonate with our audience. Because at the end of the day, I want the show to get renewed, so I want people to watch it, and so I
Oh,
need the
give me an
ratings,
example. I
right?
mean, it's that you don't have to
But
cover
someone
it,
was
but yeah, give
like,
me an
do a
example of one.
song with like the top 10 songs with a children's choir. Sounded creepy to begin with when it was being pitched to me. First off, I was like, "Oh, why are you into
Well, I
children's
would have kicked
choir?"
that off with "You Can't Always Get What You Want" by the Rolling
Yeah, so it's like there's
Stones.
a couple, and so
Um,
you're like Pink Floyd, like,
sure,
you can't have your pudding,
another brick in the
but you
wall,
you
right?
start
Yeah.
thinking about it, and off the top of your head alone, like, you really only get to, like, 3 or 4 good ones, and then you're like, "And if I Google it, like, I'm still only gonna get to 7," and then it just gets really eclectic, and you have to specifically like this idea to tune in. And we
Uh huh.
try to avoid those things because we want the show to be something that you
Sure.
enjoy from start to finish. Sure, you may not like song number 5 or agree with song number 5, but it's only going to be on for 90 seconds and then we're going to go to the next song because it's really a quick pace show. But I don't want someone to be like, yeah, but songs number 10, 9, 8, and 7 were real weird songs because they'll never stick around to get to the Pink Floyd one at number 1. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
So it can't be too
So no, I get that.
specific.
Yeah. So
Okay, you're
okay.
thinking you've got a list.
So
You
no, no, no.
you've got a
I've
list idea. Your wheels. What are you trying to pitch me? What's your idea?
oh, I got no, no. So there was a joke that the best fuck you song ever written was Queen of Denmark by John Grant, right? And I was like, so, and that actually that came up. I was talking to several other people about because there are other there's a band called The Nails did a song called Things You Left Behind, you know, of
Yeah.
just fuck you songs. Somebody actually brought up, said, see if that would make it on the countdown. I'm like, no, you know, it's these are the best, like, screw
Yeah.
you, I hate you, you destroyed my life, go
Yeah,
jump off a
yeah.
cliff, you
I would
know. But
imagine, see, what would end up
um
happening is there's gonna end up being a lot of country songs on that list. You know, if I put it to the voters, all of a sudden we'd be like, "Oh yeah, Carrie Underwood has made it on this list 3 times somehow."
Okay. Well, let's see. There was the one that you did at the. I was watching this. I'm not a world class Allman Brothers
Oh,
fan, but I
yeah,
do
yeah,
like
yeah.
them. Okay. And then you did that segment of them at the whiskey, and I'm like, man,
Mm.
that was just talk about that one for a second. What I thought was really interesting, just because because the Allman Brothers are kind of one of those. Not, I mean, like, we all know them, but they're kind of one of those, like, how did that one come up for them to do that
So
kind
are
of
you
thing?
talking about the world's greatest tribute band?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. When you covered
Yes,
that one
they
of
were
them,
called
and
Live
you
at
were
the
there sitting with them at the
Fillmore,
Go Go at the whiskey. Hmm.
and super talented. I have to admit,
Oh yeah, yeah. No, they were great.
I
Yeah.
like the Allman Brothers. I'm not as obsessed as some other people. Booking them on the show came about in a multifaceted way. Number one, they were great. Like when they submitted their information and I like watched them, I was like, these guys are good at what they do. Like hands down, they're good. I think their biggest disappointment and my biggest disappointment was that they traveled from back east, like New York or somewhere. They traveled and they couldn't bring their big organ with them because that's like too expensive to
Hmm.
ship. And the stage at
Right.
the whiskey was so small that even renting one wasn't really feasible because it's just, I mean, that's big old thing, right? So they didn't
Right.
get to
Right.
have their authentic gear with them, whereas they did bring their guitars and that sort of thing. And even the lead singer had like a slide, like the thing that goes on your finger that was given to him
Hmm.
by like Dwayne. Um, so I think
Wow.
that was the only thing, is because otherwise I think the guys were spot on. But to get to your point, not only were they talented, But listen, Access TV viewers love the Allman Brothers. That type of sound is something that really resonates with our audience. So it was an easy booking because I knew it would appease and help me get the ratings and keep the show going. And then also at the
Mm-hmm.
real end of the day, one of my fellow EPs of programming is the biggest Allman Brothers fan, and sometimes again with the
Oh,
world's
okay.
greatest tribute bands in particular, that show went about like 78 or 80 episodes. At a certain point, like you can be greedy and you could be like, I'll do an episode just because you like it. I'm in season 8. It's
Uh-huh.
okay. I'm secure. I feel good. I'll do one to make you happy. Just like, I did the Depeche Mode one because like I wanted to see the Depeche Mode tribute band and they were great and they deserve to be on it.
Well, so which one was that? Which one
Oh,
was
which one
that?
was my
The
Depeche
Depeche Mode?
Mode band? Oh, don't put me on the spot because they were so good. I feel like I'm getting
Was it Strange Love?
Strange Love. Yes, thank you.
That was the okay, yeah, no,
Oh,
because yeah, those guys are my
oh,
buddies. I actually I talked to
oh,
Brent 2 days
Brent is
ago, so
so Brent actually helped me launch the show, The World's Greatest Tribute Bands, and I owe him a lot of thanks and gratitude. He's a really great guy.
because he used to run the tribute
Yes,
band
yeah,
business
Music
that was
Zirconia.
well, yeah,
Um,
so they're actually yeah, he and I,
he's great.
we
He
have
taught
a
me,
an
when it came to me doing that show, because it was thrown at me. Deadline got canceled because HDNet
mhm.
uh got bought or merged with
I was gonna say, I
yeah,
thought they merged,
exactly.
but
So
right, okay,
Mark
yeah.
Cuban was still the main shareholder, but AEG came on board. And we changed the name to Access TV, and we cleaned up the network a little bit. So Deadline had to go, right? Art Man had to go. We cleaned it up, went more music centric. And so Mark said to me, "Deadline is over. You had a great run. I did it for like 7 years." He said, "Your new show is tribute bands. Figure it out."
So, I
And so I
actually well, because
found
I know
Brent and
Brent.
I
I've
picked his brain. We went to lunch.
Brent's the
I
guy.
picked his
Yeah,
brain.
Brent is
He
yeah.
helped me and pointed me in the right direction. And even like, he's in the band, the Depeche Mode tribute band. He's like, "You
Yeah.
should do that on season 1." And I was like, "That's not what our viewers are into right now. It's not what Mark wants. He wanted very classic rock." I was like, "But I got you. I got your back." And I think whether it was in season 2 or
Uh-huh.
season 3, I had them on and they were spectacular.
They killed it. Well, yeah, well, I think they were the 2nd or the 3rd show on my
Oh,
podcast,
okay. All
actually.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm think was it were they 2 or 3? But yeah, they're the best guys in the world. Love them. And they're actually coming to do a gig here in Salt Lake
Oh,
in
when you
next
see them,
month.
please tell them I said
And
hello.
okay, yeah, I'll be
Okay.
filming it, so we'll be yeah. So okay, there's like Zeffirella, Lita Strauss, all these great Iron Maidens,
Iron
right?
Maidens are
Like I
great.
love those. Oh man, I mean, well, Lita Strauss is like
Nita.
that girl is on
Nita.
Nita
And Nita
Strauss on her
is now
guitar
on
is like
the top 10 revealed as one of my guests this season. She just joined
oh
the
okay,
roster.
she's that girl's amazing, yeah. So but there was there's one band, they're called Gacy DC, probably wouldn't make it on your show. Um, if you ever want to see, if you're an ACDC fan, right? If you ever want to see the rudest, lewdest presentation
Okay.
of ACDC, these guys are it. They are fantastic. And I actually had, yeah, they just, I put one of their videos they did with a band called Well Hung Heart, and we just put that one up for the magazine that I write for. It was awesome. It's the long way to the top, right? And I called it something like it's a long. Oh shoot, I can't remember what I called the article, but I absolutely
Well,
love because I hadn't heard a good ACDC tribute band in
I
a long time.
love
So when these guys came
Bonfire.
out,
I
they were
love Van Halen. Oh no, no, Van Halen is my Van Halen tribute. I like them a lot though too. Um, you know who you like you too. You have to check out Hollywood U two.
yeah
Hollywood
okay.
U2 is great. And the Bono, his name is Joe, was at
Hmm.
a U2 concert, kind of like in the third or fourth row. And Bono singled him out and made
Yeah.
him come up on stage just to hold like the camera. And like at one point he got on the mic and Bono let him take the mic for the rest of the
Let him
song,
say,
and he nailed it. And it was when I was in the hardcore in the middle of doing the world's greatest tribute band. So when I woke up in the morning and saw like my feed exploding, being like, "This is your Bono," I literally cried such happy tears because I was like, "Can you imagine being a tribute to U2, being the Bono of a tribute to U2, and
and then
getting pulled
Bono
up on
pulls you out and
stage,
makes you
and him
happen.
just thinking,
Yeah.
oh, you're gonna just it's gonna be like fun thing. I had another Bono on stage, and then he hears your voice and he just surrenders the microphone, and you get to sing while the Edge is playing, and oh my god, I was like, ugly face in the morning.
Wow. So, but you're a U2 fan.
Huge
Good to
U2. It was the
know.
first concert I ever went to.
Okay. I've been to
Oh, all
46.
right. You got.
So
I went to Octune Baby.
I went to Octoon Baby. Yes, that was actually my big that was
Yeah,
the first one. I drove up to Seattle with a buddy of mine, senior year of high school. We drove up there, saw the show, and we're like,
it's
"That's it.
great.
This
They're
is
good.
And oh yeah,
At one
the
point,
thing
I
is like
actually
tribute
contemplated naming
bands.
my son Edge, but like I realized you can't just say Edge. You have to say the Edge. Like I
The
constantly be
Edge,
like,
yes, you have
the
the
Edge is
article there.
crying.
Yes.
The Edge needs his diaper changed. The Edge is hungry. And I was like, I don't think that that would be a healthy relationship to have in the house. That then like my child has a the in front of it, so we didn't do the Edge. And then I wanted to name him Maverick, but then I realized, my boss is Mark Cuban and he owns the Dallas Mavericks, and that will seem like I'm
And that
a real
wouldn't,
creep.
yeah, then
It's really because my husband and I love Tom Cruise movies. I do. I love Tom Cruise. Don't say anything bad about him. I will cut you. And so I was like, oh, Maverick. But then I was like, I can't do that because of my boss. So it was a real bummer, like choosing baby names because everything got ruined.
so you had a rough go
Yeah.
at it.
His name
Jeez,
is
trying to
Hawkeye. I didn't know that Hawkeye was an
okay.
Avenger. I was a huge fan of MASH and Hawkeye Pierce,
Uh-huh.
the Alan Alda
Yes.
character.
Benjamin Franklin Hawkeye Pierce,
Yeah,
Alan
and
Alda,
so
yeah.
my husband and I loved it, and so we named him Hawkeye, and I loved that Hawkeye in the TV show. He got his name from the book, The Last of the Mohicans. So I was like, oh, this is
Last of
really
the
like peeling the
Mohicans, but
onion.
yeah.
I didn't know he was an
Oh yeah,
Avenger,
no, I
and that's a bad thing on me. Because now there's a Hawkeye TV show, and my kid's like, "Wait, what?" And I was like, "Oh, here I thought we were so unique, and now there's like merchandise."
well, hey, here's the worst one for you. Okay, there was a kid that I went to elementary school with, um, and a family name at the time. He was born in early 1974, and a family name at the time. So just work with us. But he was the great grandson of a one United States president. That president's last name was Cleveland. So imagine poor kid going around. This is the 70s. His name was Grover. And poor guy. So yeah, I mean, not like Grover's a bad name, but after Sesame Street hits in the late 70s,
Yeah,
right?
it's a
So
thing. It's a
he
thing.
he, he had to go
And
by
I
Ed.
have zero
So
regrets. I think Hawkeye's the raddest thing in the entire world. But it's actually helped because sometimes kids are like, "Wait, what's your name?" And now they actually like understand what his name is. So it's pretty cool. I love him.
oh no, that's no. You see, that's great because it had something
Yeah,
respectable attached to it. Unfortunately, my
Grover's
friend
hard. Grover's
Grover
hard.
got yeah, Grover didn't quite work out for the guy too
Mm-mm.
well. So, um, but no, geez, this has been you and I get to talk for hours about the craziest. Like, I
We
mean,
we have a lot of mutuals. We
I
could really gossip off air.
we know a lot of the same people. Yeah, but no, you got to go watch that D Snyder video. I'm not kidding. You watch it and you will
All
cry.
right, game on.
Okay, you're like, why could it hurt so bad to watch somebody get their head shaved? And you will just be in tears. I mean, because it was a very serious direction for him to take. Because this is D.
Sure.
Snyder, man. What do you want to do with your life? I want to rock. I mean, come on. I grew up on those videos. I grew up thinking he was. I mean, those guys were
Yeah.
comedians and awesome at everything that they did. And then watching him do that, I was like, man, he's like serious, and that was really moving. So next time you talk to him, say, look, man, there's this guy. He just said you just, yeah, no, he sucker punched me when he did that one. So, um, Although, let's see. So when you do this, just really quick, tying it up, you're bridging the gap. You're taking the nostalgia and you're handing it to the
Yeah.
next generation, right? That is so cool of what you're doing. I mean, I know you're taking stuff that's older than you and you're presenting it to people younger than you, which is that is the coolest job in the whole world. You're saying, look, we can connect, we can unite
Yeah.
all this in pop culture and all of that, right? And I think that's probably one of the most enjoyable
Yeah.
parts of your job, I would think, because I watch your show and I go, she's having so much fun just
It's a
laying
good
it out like
time. It's a
this.
good time. It's fun. I like the guests are great. The music selection is great. It's only rock and roll. Like I'm not like solving world hunger or anything. It's a easy show to check out to, and I mean that in the best way. You are allowed to hold your
Hmm.
device and be scrolling through Facebook and Instagram and have it on in the background because it is an easy show to be like, "Oh, I like this song. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Uh-huh, listening, listening, listening. Oh, I like this song too. Yeah, 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 listening." Like it's just a really good modern show to enjoy rock and roll while balancing the rest of your life and bridging and introducing information to people.
Well, I have learned things watching your show. I mean, I'll be like, I never did think much of that band. Oh,
Yeah.
that's interesting. How about that? So no, when that happens to me, I
And
do
you know what? At the
appreciate
end of the
that. So
day,
I,
we do try to stay really positive. Um, and I think that
hmm
that's important right now because there is like, there's the climate of ripping on people, making fun of people, and social media just, tearing a new one for people. And we're not part of that. We understand, and I always say this to my guests because I assign them their songs in advance of what they're going to talk to. I don't like say, "Hey, here's the 10 songs. Which ones do you want to talk about?" Like I present them with, "I need you to talk about these 3. Then you can pick one off the list that you want, but I need specific things out of people." And I do always
sure.
say, "Listen, we need to stay positive. And if you don't like the song, that's okay. I never want to misrepresent you. I don't want you to say I love this song if you don't love it. But what I would love you to say is, and look at the song in a different way. I think people love this song because, or this was popular because." And so next time you watch the top 10 revealed, listen for those keywords because you do get to know a bit of about the person that, like, okay, they took the line and they realized they didn't have to love this song, but they are smart musicians and they know and they understand and can respect why someone else did love this song. And you can't
Hmm.
take the cred away from the song because other people did like it, and it's not always about your individual taste. And I like that about the show is that we do try and stay positive and we don't majorly rip people for any reason because we need happy stuff.
Oh, we do. Yeah. Like, okay, like to me, I'll just throw this one in there. My biggest surprise is somebody that I met that I had no opinion of really. I didn't think his music was all that great, but I got backstage at the show. I knew the
Yeah.
promoter. He's like, "Hey, I got a free ticket, right?" Um, if this guy wasn't the coolest guy in the world, was Richard Marks, believe it
Ah,
or not. Um, he just was so like he was the main talent. He was all, and that guy was just so
it's
funny.
so
Like
nice
we're just
when, like,
talking
yeah,
and
your opinion can be swayed and yeah, that's cool.
but like I was like his show was fine. It wasn't terrible. It was but and I'm after the show and I'm like, yeah. I said to one of the guys, said, no, sorry, I got a bit of a headache, man. I'm like, and then he hears me. He's like at the other end of the room and he goes, "Oh, you got a headache? Oh, hang on a minute. I got something for you." And he like goes and he comes back, tosses me a bottle of Tylenol and says, "Here, man, have a drink on me." Over
Aw,
there, points to catering table, and he's just being this like
gracious and
he just
nice.
heard me
Yeah.
say that, and I'm like, wow, what a nice guy. But everyone's like, that's just Richard. He's just the just a sweetheart. Let him be that way, And that's what's cool when you learn
Mhm.
that about somebody. And I love that about in this job, where you're like me, you meet people, you're like low expectations, but then when they really go out of the way to be that awesome, you're like, man, that's an
Yeah,
awesome person,
I agree.
And so, but your show, man, I love just some of the dialogue. I love just like whoever your writers are, or do those guys come up with some of this stuff themselves? There's some really funny and just genuinely
Oh,
cool
thank you.
things that
I'm
they'll
glad
say.
you
I mean,
enjoy it.
and I'm like, I never knew that about those guys.
Yeah.
Far out, man. And everybody's got something funny to say about that, oh man, the memories with this and that, so you really do well. But I saw just on your page you got Chrissy Hine Let's just close out with that. You got like, because who doesn't love Chrissy
Well,
Hine of
Chrissy
all
Hines. So
people? But
Chrissy, we have the new one of her documentaries coming up that she did, and so that's going to be on Access TV. And I mean, what a treat!
yep, that one was just right on the front page for
Yeah.
Access TV. I'm like, oh, tell us about that, and we'll close out with
I wish I
that.
could tell you more about it, but that's not my show, so I can't. All I know,
Oh, because it just comes. It's just
yeah, we have
docs
the
that
Docs
rock.
That
I'm
Rock
like,
series, which it
wow.
does really rock. I know the word's a bit cliche, but we do all these great documentaries, and we try to curate and pick the best ones for our audience. And I know there's some cool stuff coming up for December in particular. I think there's like 4 nights of great Docs That Rock, and I think Noel Gallagher's there's one with him. There's the Chrissy Hine one. Just a great array of programming over there at Access TV.
See, that's funny. So I'm like, oh, Noel Gallagher. I know his drummer's twin brother.
Fun fact.
So, uh, oh yeah, no, like my stories go back. Like, oh yeah, that's my ties into Oasis. I know this guy and this guy. It's but this in the music industry, it is a very, very
It really
small
is.
world.
It really is.
And
And yeah,
so,
the
I mean,
6
just
degrees of
again, you just,
separation
I'm like,
thing is pretty fun.
yeah, it's like three at the work. I'm like, oh
Yeah,
yeah, no, it's
exactly.
yeah. So anyway, thank you so much for your time, Katie. This has been a
Yeah,
wonderful
I mean, I'm
conversation.
happy that I was able to share stuff with you and just like have a good chat. Thank you for having me.
Oh well, from one music journalist junkie to another. Believe me, as your son gets older, you're gonna find your brain will climb back
I hope.
into the. You'll get that back, I promise. And
I'll
so
get
when
my
that
brain back.
happens,
Maybe not
great.
my body, but I'll get my brain
Yes.
back.
So, but thank you so much. I had a great time. Everybody, this is Katie Daryl from Axis TV, who's done it all, heard it all, and now she's just up telling the story and making it just fun for everyone. So, thank you, Katie. And everybody else, please take care, be good to each other, and let music do awesome in your lives.